The purpose of this video is to talk about writing intentionally. We can write without really thinking about our words, and we can write with the intention of picking better words for some common verbs, nouns, and phrases that often we are used to putting down on paper, typing into our computers, but perhaps could be more intentional. So, we're going to cover what is diction. Diction is just a general wheelhouse that will help us kind of frame this topic. We're going to look at some verbs that are pretty common to use, but there's probably better choices. We're going to look at two words, things and stuff, that show up a lot in student writing, along with the phrase it is. Both of these phrases and words, they tend to be really common because they're easy to write. They're general, and sometimes when you can't think of exactly the word you want, it's more likely that you might use a general phrase. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to do a little practice. Okay, so our goal by the end of this mini lesson is for you to be able to define the word diction, to be able to revise vague language so it's more specific and concrete, and to intentionally choose words that will help you write clearly, and to also be able to explain those choices. Why is this word better than another one? Okay, so what is diction? Diction is the intentional choice of words and phrases in your speech or your writing. Here, we're really focusing on writing. I think that, if you think about this mini lesson as information that should tell you how to talk better, it's really difficult to think intentionally while you are talking. You have to talk slower, you have to build a bigger automatic vocabulary, and while that's great, and your communications classes will probably love that for you, our goal here is really writing, and it's a little bit easier to be intentional with writing because writing can be revised before it's shared with others, whereas most of the time, while speech could be redacted, it can't necessarily be revised before someone hears it, because if you say it, they've heard it. Intentional choices help you set the tone, the mood, and even write something that's clearer for your reader to understand. What contributes to diction, like why you would pick certain words over others, is both a word's denotation, which is the literal dictionary definition of a word, and the word's connotation, which is sort of the underlying meaning, what the word refers to, what feelings it invokes, what it suggests. Let's look at a couple of examples. So, the word house and the word home are really similar words. You could probably use either of them in a sentence, and you're going to get the same general statement. I live in a house, I live in a home, right? But the word home has feelings of unity and bonding and warmth and a place where you feel connected. Maybe your home isn't actually a house. Maybe it's an apartment or a condo or a particular space where you share with friends and you feel the best there, right? So these are two words that on paper in the dictionary, they seem like they're just synonyms, but when we really think about the connotation or the underlying meaning of house and home, which one feels more warm and more emotional is probably the word home. The same is true with words like animal and beast. They're kind of synonyms. You could replace one for the other, but animal is a really much more scientific or neutral word, and beast suggests that there's something kind of like savage or wild about the animal that you're talking to. We probably would not refer to all animals as beasts, even though perhaps with the dictionary definition, it's a one-for-one trade-off. So, diction is just the meaning of words, and thinking about our diction helps us make intentional choices. Now, to be more intentional, especially if you aren't thinking about this often, I recommend starting with verbs, things and stuff, and the phrase it is. These are really great places to start because, one, they're things that I see um, that students often use vaguely in their writing. And two, you can start small and maybe just with the practice of noticing, have I used the word thing in my writing? Have I used the phrase it is in my writing? Just in noticing those will probably help you write new words in other contexts and in other sentences to make intentional writing choices. Okay, so let's talk about verbs. Not all verbs are bad. Not all saids are vague. Not all dids are vague. Not all haves are vague. Most of the time, these verbs are fine. But when you are looking at your verbs, I think it can be really helpful to ask yourself, is there a better verb or action word that you could put to really give that sentence more context and more understanding? So let's imagine we have a sentence and it starts with she said. Well, what if we ask ourselves, how is she saying these words? There might be a better verb that we could write that's going to clarify this without needing any extra words. So instead of she said, we could say she shouted. Now we know a lot more context if we change that verb to something much more specific. Or we could say she explained. And again, we kind of get the tone of who she is and what she's doing in that moment instead of just the word said. The same is true with did. Maybe we could say something like, he did the dishes, he did the laundry, he did art, or he does art. But instead, we could say specifically what that verb is. We really don't need did if we have very concrete verbs. He washed the laundry. He washed the laundry, he washed the dishes, he folded the laundry, he probably didn't fold the dishes. He painted a picture. Instead of he did art, what type of art? Painting is much more specific than he did art or he does art. The same is true with have, although there are plenty of reasons for you to have the word have in your writing. So just because it's there doesn't mean it's not concrete or clear, but you might have a situation where you see have being unnecessary. What if you wrote a sentence like, they have a fear of snakes? You could replace that with, they detest snakes. You could say, they own pets instead of, they have pets. They have an issue with math. They have a problem with math. What about they struggle with math? Sometimes if you have the word have and then the word a right after it, that could be a key indicator that you might have a better verb somewhere in your vocabulary for clarity in this sentence. Verbs aren't the most important thing that you should be aware of, though. Things and stuff is probably much more of a common phrase or two common words that you don't necessarily want to see showing up in your academic writing. When you're thinking about the word things, really, we use it because we don't know what the thing is, or there's something about just a general word that's going to cover everything so that we don't really have to be all that specific. These show up clearly and logically in sentences like, the first thing I do in the morning is make coffee, or going for a walk is a healthy thing. And that feels really natural and normal to write. But when you see the word thing show up in your writing, you might want to ask yourself, what is the thing that I'm actually doing? What is a better noun for this thing? The first task I do in the morning is make coffee. Going for a walk is a healthy habit. And again, I don't necessarily think that you can cut thing out of your speech vocabulary. But if you are intentional about writing, it's easy to cut out of your writing vocabulary. And then when you really need to use it, it becomes an intentional choice. Stuff is true as well. And I don't really see stuff all that often in student writing, but I put it in this slide because it shows up in our reading for this semester. If you tend to gravitate towards stuff instead of thing, you just want to ask yourself, what's the stuff? Maybe instead of saying some stuff I find interesting, you could say some topics I find interesting. Or instead of saying so much stuff is due on Sunday, you might say so many assignments are due on Sunday. It's just really about being more specific and using more specific word choice so that you can write and communicate clearly. Okay, the last one, this is one that I correct on probably every student paper that I get, is the phrase "it is." And there is a time and a place for "it is," but a lot of the times, "it is" begins a paragraph, which feels very vague, or it begins a new idea, which feels very vague, or the "it" is something you've referred to many, many sentences ago, and there's not enough clarity and connection to make it still hold the meaning that it probably would have held if you wrote "it is" right next to an earlier sentence. So you can think about, what is the "it" that you're referring to in your sentence? If it's an object, then just replace it with that specific object, and keep your verb tense, subject verb agreement the same. If it's a singular object, then use "is." If it's a plural object, a plural noun, then use "are." Like the bowl is, topics are, the app is, communities are. You might find that the "it" you're referring to, it's actually a person. And so you could say the person's specific name, like June and Margot are, or maybe it's just some general grouping, or not a proper noun, but a common noun. The teacher is, the child is, or strangers are. Being able to replace that is just going to make your writing more concrete and more specific. What if it is an idea? I think this is where I see "it" is being used the most. You've got an idea and you don't necessarily know how to sum up that idea in one word. And that's where the intention comes out, is thinking about, what is it that I'm actually writing about that I need to put a word here for instead of "it." And so if you have an idea, you just want to think about, what's the one word or phrase for this idea? Envy is, integrity is, anarchy is, authenticity is. Okay, so since our semester is guided by Better Living Through Algorithms by Naomi Kritzer, I thought we could look at some of her language, because she loves the word "thing." In fact, Lene, in one of the parts in part one, says, "You said the same thing about Pokemon Go." So I would ask you to try and pause this video and rewrite the sentence to replace "said" and "thing" with more concrete diction. Okay, so assuming you've unpaused the video, here's some possible ways that we could update this. You commented the same criticism about Pokemon Go. You mentioned the same thought about Pokemon Go. You suggested the same concern about Pokemon Go. Here, the language is replaced with more specific word choice. Let's look at another practice. One sentence that I find interesting and vague is, "It was a good thing I did it on the clock." Sometimes when you are updating your language, you really have to completely wipe the sentence structure and try again. And that's something I had to do to come up with the examples that we'll cover here in just a second. So go ahead and pause this video and try to replace "it was" and "thing" with more concrete diction. Okay, so again, assuming you've unpaused this video, you might say downloading the app on the clock was helpful. Setting up the app on the clock was a relief. Answering the app's questionnaires on the clock made more sense. So again, intentional language choices here. Okay, so let's check in. Can you define diction? Can you revise vague language? Can you make your writing more intentional when it comes down to the word level? If you can, you are good to go. If not, send me an email.